Welcome to the Cougar Playbook, the official podcast of Concordia University Chicago Athletics. I'm Alex Campbell, and today I am joined by Kelly Bielec, the head coach of the Cougars STUNT team. Kelly, thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. I'm really excited to get started.
Absolutely. So last November, it was announced that STUNT would become CUC's 19th varsity sport. And for those who are unfamiliar, what is STUNT and how is it different from the cheerleading squads or the dance teams that people might be a little more familiar with?
Right. So you're not the only one that isn't too familiar with stunt. Even cheerleaders near us don't even know what it is because it's so new. So stunt is basically the athletic components taken out of traditional cheerleading, which most people are used to. And it's put into a 4-quarter game. So it's the first quarter is partner stunts, the second quarter is pyramid and tosses, and then there's a halftime, and then the third quarter is jumps and tumbling, and the fourth quarter is it all put together.
Gotcha. So it's set up, it almost feels odd to call competitive cheerleading, to call them games, but kind of the setup of stunt is designed to give it more of that traditional sport structure, right?
Yeah, exactly. So basically, these teams are put head to head doing the same routine, and whoever does it better essentially gets the point. So it's kind of a game of strategy too, because you kind of call the games that you know or the routines that the other team might not be good at. So it kind of goes back and forth in that way.
Gotcha. So as the team's first coach and being able to start this program from scratch, what's most exciting for you about an opportunity like this, and what's difficult, especially, you mentioned that even around the Chicago area, not a lot of cheerleaders are even really familiar with stunt.
Yeah, I'm most excited for it being the first team in Illinois in general. I think that's one of the most exciting things, and I'm excited to make history in that way and try to pull people in that way and just say how exciting it is to be a part of, one of the first, the first. So I'm just looking for people that are super passionate about cheerleading because it still uses all of those elements. So I'm really just looking for people that are willing to bring in that passion and really create a tradition here at CUC and just start building that culture as a team.
Awesome. So you mentioned that CUC has the first stunt team in Illinois at the collegiate level. Looking around the country so far, it's most popular in places like California, Michigan, Oklahoma. Now they're looking at about 50 schools in over 14 states for this season, which is very exciting. So with a lot of students, especially locally, not being super familiar with it, how do you sell that to prospective athletes, student athletes who might not have heard of it? And, how do you scout when it's still so new? How do you know what you're looking for?
Right. So I'm using social media a ton right now because just to get the word out. And I actually went to school in Michigan, so that's where I did stunt. I first learned about it, but it's nice because I'm also a head coach here in Illinois, so I'm trying to get the word out that way. But once we get this team, I would love to, do showcases, get them out to local competitions, and hopefully even the state tournament for IHSA, just to get that name out there and kind of show what stunt is. But yeah, that's my main priority right now, is just explaining what stunt is to everyone that doesn't know it.
So you mentioned you competed collegiately in Michigan at Davenport University, won a national title all 4 years.
I did, yeah.
First team All-American. That's a really impressive resume. How did you first hear about stunt? How did you get into it?
Yeah, so I went to high school in Minooka, Illinois. So I went there for 4 years. And then I knew I wanted to keep cheering in college. So I heard of Davenport University because they're also good at NCAA competitive cheerleading. So it's the form of cheerleading that most people are used to in college. So I went there, and then it was kind of a whole new world because we also did stunt. So I first learned about it when I already was going there. And then I just completely fell in love with it. It is so much more competitive, and, the head-to-head format is just awesome. And it really, the atmosphere you can't beat. It's just super exciting to watch. So I did it all 4 years there, and I was lucky enough to, win all 4 years, and it was super exciting. And then I came back and coached high school here, and then now I got this opportunity. So I knew I always wanted to stick with stunt, but stunt didn't exist yet here in Illinois. So I'm really excited to be the first.
You mentioned, that the atmosphere is really exciting. And I think a lot of people, in addition to, when we think cheerleading, especially at the high school level, even college, we might think just kind of on the sideline at sports. But I think a lot of people have seen, whether it's randomly on ESPN someday, that they'll come across competitive cheerleading. They know what that looks like. So whenever you guys are able to play games, hopefully with fans in attendance,
Yeah.
what should fans expect, students, parents, whoever, when they come to a stunt game?
Yeah, it's super exciting for fans to come because it's a very easy game to watch. So you can see the two teams going against each other at the same time. And like I said, it's kind of whoever does the routine better. So if one team falls, everyone in the crowd starts going crazy if it's not your team, obviously. So it just gets super competitive in that way that if someone messes up, it's clear to see. And so you get really excited for the team that you're rooting for. And like I said, super easy to follow. So usually it's super heavy in attendance. So I'm excited and hopefully we can host one at CUC.
And you mentioned, you're kind of trying to get the word out around IHSA. You went to Manuka, you've coached girls cheerleading at Manuka. Do you feel like you've got some sort of competitive advantage given that you're the first in the door here, first in Illinois, first in Chicago, and you kind of know the scene really well? It's
Right.
got to feel like you're in a really, I mentioned, not only starting a new program, but just in general, from stunt at a national level, you're in a pretty unique situation
Yeah.
with, being the first one in the area.
Yeah, exactly. And since I'm so familiar with the area, I'm really excited to reach out to those schools like personally and really draw them in that way and be able to go visit because I just say cheerleading is they're so talented and so amazing. And I just like would love to give them another avenue to take in college. So, and it's open to gymnasts too because we use tumbling in our routine. So just to be able to go to those high schools and know them personally on my high school side of coaching is super nice that I can bring them in that way and just show them a whole nother avenue they can take.
So more broadly, beyond just stunt, you mentioned you went to Manuka, you went to school, and then you've dived right back into coaching. Was
Yeah.
coaching something you always wanted to do, in terms of, this being kind of the path for you and where you've ended up career-wise here? Was it always the plan for you to be a coach? And what is it about this role? Not only, the athletic and the technical part of it, but being a mentor and an advisor for, college age athletes. What about it, appeal to you, and why is it something you enjoy so much?
Yeah, I knew I always wanted to stick with cheerleading in some sort. I didn't know it was going to be my full-time job, but I knew I wanted to stick with coaching at like some point because I felt like I was always just a leader on my team and I just wanted to carry that through. And I'm very passionate about cheerleading. So I got the job for the head coach in high school like a few months before I graduated Davenport. So I took that and I was doing that for 3 years and then I fell in love with coaching at that point because you just see the growth in these athletes and in the years that they take to not only grow as an athlete but as a person is just incredible. So I would love to coach athletes that were like me in college and just to see them hopefully spark a passion in them too to maybe do the same thing one day. But yeah, I absolutely love just watching the athletes grow.
So in that role now, how's the process going so far? I know, the school only announced last November that
Mm-hmm.
stunt was coming in as a sport. You were hired after that. They were
Yeah.
hoping to compete, in 2021. What's kind of your timeline? What have you
Yeah.
been up to? How's the roster coming together? All those sorts of things. How has the job been so far?
Yeah, so I've been mostly recruiting right now. And like I said, just getting the word out there, really reaching out to athletes. I'm using social media a ton and just really talking to these athletes. It's their prime season. So right now I'm kind of just talking to them and then trying to solidify things in the next couple of weeks. Um, but yeah, it's looking great. And then we start in the fall and we get all of our material and kind of practice in the fall. And then we start games in February. So the plan is to start competing in February.
Awesome. And I'm, sure, like, the ideal plan might have been to start this year of the school I think had hoped, but again, the pandemic and everything else kind of
Yeah.
throwing a wrench into all of that. I guess I'll just kind of open it up to when you're talking to people about stunt and,
Mhm.
when you're explaining it to people for the first time, be it prospective athletes, fans, your family, your friends, when they ask what you're doing these days, what is it about stunt beyond, the nuts and bolts, beyond, here's what it is, here's the technical side, here's how
Yeah.
it's scored. What is it that you want people to know about it as a sport, as a competition?
Yeah, I think what I love about stunt is that it can utilize so many athletes. There's not really a cap on it. Whereas a competitive team, you have to be a all around amazing cheerleader to fit in the routine. Whereas this one, we can utilize so many athletes and pull people in for certain portions of the game, if that makes sense. So if someone's good at jumps and tumbling but not good at stunting, we can use them for that part of the game. vice versa. So it's super nice to be able to utilize so many athletes and give these female athletes another avenue to take. As I've been saying, it's great to see the opportunities grow as the years come. And this is one of the fastest growing sports. So it's just awesome to see the growth of it and to be a part of that growth.
Right. And with it growing so quickly, if a school just now decided to start a football team or a
Mhm.
basketball team or a soccer team, getting to national recognition, would be something that they could only dream of. It probably wouldn't be possible without an incredible amount of investment if they
Yeah.
were just starting out. Where stunt is so new, what are your goals for this program, and how quickly do you hope to be able to take CUC from not having a stunt team to being recognized on a national level in the sport?
Yeah, and that's an amazing point because it's since it is so new, it is easier to grow faster. And especially with my experience, that's what I think I'm able to bring to this team is a lot of coaches, since stunt is so new, some of them didn't get experience on a stunt team. So that's something I'm bringing is 4 years on a stunt team and then also as a coach. So I'm excited to find these athletes and really like show them like how to run through it and grow and just adapt to the changes of stunt. And all the stunt teams are very helpful. So I'm able to rely on other teams too, because, they just want more teams playing. So it's super helpful to get some help from other collegiate teams as well.
Makes a lot of sense. So, as the CUC athletics community and the CUC family watches you guys put this team together over the next year and follows the progress leading up to the first competitive games next spring, how can people keep up with CUC Stunt? Where can they follow, and what should they be looking out for?
Yeah, you guys can follow us on CUC Stunt Instagram. So that's where we're probably going to give the most updates and how the team's coming along. Starting May 1st, we can start announcing the team. So I'm super excited about that. And just to get people excited about it. And yeah, and any events that we have, we'll be putting on there. So, yep.
Well, head coach of CUC Stunt, Kelly Bielec, thanks so much for coming on Cougar Playbook today, and best of luck over the course of 2021, putting together an awesome new program here at Concordia.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.